Welcome to another episode of Morning Mojo with me, your host Shane Solomon. I'm super delighted to have on the sofa this morning with me none other than Katie Warren. Welcome to the set of Morning Mojo.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to meet you today. First time, of course.
Yes.
You're doing amazing things down in Falmouth. Just give our listeners a bit of an idea of what you do in this beautiful town of Falmouth.
Yes, so love Falmouth, born and bred down there, and I have a business which is a full property management and interior design for holiday lets in the area. So I've been running that for about 13 years now for my sins.
Fantastic stuff. Now, of course, holiday homes in Cornwall. Now, there's a subject. Of course, we need it. We need that for the economy. Of course, being Cornish, both of you and I are Cornish. We get a lot of Cornish people het up by these holiday homes in here.
Yeah.
What's your kind of take on all of it? Obviously, you're in that industry.
It's a really, really tricky balance that we've got to find. And I think that's what we're working towards now. Definitely something's got to be done. We need to collect a lot of data about them, which we're doing, and we need to definitely get more local housing for people. Social housing's a massive problem. They need to get much more of that to help. The private rental system is also in quite a big state of disrepair. So it's a lot bigger issue than just holiday letting, if that makes sense. So all avenues need to be explored. But we have got a really good system coming in the next 12 months, which is going to be statutory registration for holiday lets, which is going to be brilliant because it will weed out a lot of like the cowboys that we have in the market, people who aren't doing it properly, who aren't following any of the safety legislation, those bits and pieces which are really important to our market to run it professionally and safely for everybody. So I'm looking forward to that coming in. Airbnb was a huge change for everyone. It's a brilliant platform and I like it. However, there's zero regulation, and it was the blow up of Airbnb coupled with really the boost Cornwall got from COVID that I think really highlighted how bad the problem was. So there's lots to be done with the housing in Cornwall, but it's not just all on holiday letting.
No, sure. And I think, this podcast has been designed to inspire and motivate, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but I just have an expertise like yourself in the studio. It would just be silly of me not to mention it. And,
no, of course.
And that your industry is obviously certainly aware of it, not going, it doesn't matter, we're just
no,
going to
it
make
really
as much
matters.
money as we can,
No, absolutely not. And it really matters. And I am local. And I live in Redruth. I'm a town councillor in Redruth. And Redruth has some of the, it's got one of the highest poverty situations there, with Camborne and Poole. And I'm really passionate about it. So it's good for someone like me who works in the industry, but also sees the other side of it, wanting to work towards it. And I am hopefully going to be working with the task force when it comes to doing these regs later on, because we want to get it right. But it's also very important to keep tourism in Cornwall going.
Oh, absolutely.
We want to welcome people here. We want people to come and spend money in the county, because if we don't, there's going to be a much bigger problem that will affect all the other parts of Cornwall. So we need it. We want to welcome these people, and we also want to make sure people are buying the right holiday lets when they come here. During COVID, it was awful. People were buying, places. For example, people were ringing me saying we're going to buy in 4 lanes. Why would you ever buy a holiday let in 4 lanes? That's a residential community. You shouldn't be doing that. You've got to pick the correct places that are suitable to the town and the local community for holiday letting. So, it's quite a long process. If you want to get into it properly, I can talk about it all day long.
There's probably another podcast. You could be one of our property experts for Cornwall on the Cornwall channel. But, it's important, though, that we talk about it, right?
It is. And to be informed and to be educated and to try and have really sensible discussions about it, because it's been a really sensitive subject. And I understand that there's been a huge amount of anger about it. I really do. And I've witnessed it during COVID. We had some awful things. Some of our housekeepers were coming out to dog poo on their car from people telling them, to leave the villages and everything. It was really, really hard. But that's not going to solve problems.
No, of course not.
Talking about it, learning about it, working together to try and solve the problem and how we can all help as a community, that's kind of where I would come from.
And I also like to think, I go to London quite a bit now, and it's mixed messaging that people receive where they feel that they're not welcome in Cornwall. I think, no, I said, please come down, knowing that we need them here. But we've always got to remember, as human beings, we travel. I travel. I like to go on holiday.
Yeah.
Jay, who works with me here, he's just come back from Lanzarote. So, the Cornish down here are so strong sometimes to call people Emmets, the whole thing, But really, you're an Emmet in someone else's place when you travel, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
do you not go on a holiday? I know
And
there's some people do just stay here forever, but
absolutely. And all those places, like Lanzarote and in Spain, they all need the English money over there
that's
as
right.
well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
because you feed other industries that are there, so you must have it. And being Cornish, I like to think we are a welcoming group of people. We're always kind and friendly,
Very much.
and we want to keep that. We don't want to put people off coming and saying, "Oh no, that just the Cornish aren't nice." We're lovely actually, and it's just I think everything's got to settle down and there's just got to be solutions in place. So
Absolutely.
hopefully we're working towards that. I really hope so.
Well, I have full confidence in the way you speak and the short time I've known you when we was talking in the green room that you're definitely the right person to be aware of it and representing and keeping an eye out for Cornwall. Let's go back to the beginning though, because you've not always had your own business. You've started
No.
from scratch with that. I'm interested to find out your kind of mindset, what brought you to that decision to go on your own and to set something up. So if you can just give me a bit of backstory
Yeah.
about, how you
Um,
started.
well, yeah, it's a reasonably long story, but I'll
It's
make
okay.
it
We've got
nice and
yeah, yeah,
short.
yeah. Okay.
Degree in law, always loved the law. Really enjoyed, but decided I didn't want to practice. Graduated during the recession in 2008, 2009. So needed to get work. Ended up going into kind of luxury sales market, which was great. And I learned a lot. What I most loved about that job was the people. I really, really enjoyed talking to people, learning about them, learning about the psychology of sales. But after about 6 or 7 years, I thought, gosh, is this where I'm going to be? Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? So did what all people do from Falmouth and join a super yacht because it just seems to be what we do. So I was very fortunate to have friends in Palma and I went and joined them. And then I did end up on a boat and did a crossing over to Antigua, which was brilliant. But I did know it was a short-term role for me. I wasn't going to be doing it for a long time. I needed that time just to have a breather and be like, right, Kate, what do you want to do? And actually, one of the bottom lines was I want to be back in Cornwall. I want to do that. And I do want to work for myself. And what I loved most about the yachts was how they were run. They were impeccable. The organization, the way the crews worked, it was really interesting to see. What could I do with that in Cornwall? Well, holiday lets. And that's when the holiday let market was really taking off. And actually, people who were coming to Cornwall to stay, they weren't coming for, cheap holidays anymore. It was actually getting more expensive to come to Cornwall than it was to go abroad. So they wanted a certain standard. So it was really, how can I apply it to that? And I started off just with a couple of houses, seeing how it would go. And then it grew. And then the service kind of grew organically, really. And then it was, right, actually, we'll take on the whole day to day management. Oh, that one needs an interior doing. I think I could probably do that as well. That one needs full renovation, maintenance.
Mm.
And before you knew it, it's kind of become this really interesting business that I love working in. You never know what each day is going to present. You never know who you're going to meet. And I do get to work with brilliant staff, really good locals in Falmouth as well. Everyone I get is from around the area. Um, and clients that I tend to work with, for the whole duration. I was saying to you earlier in the green room, I'm still working with the very first client I ever had
Yeah, that's
13
great.
years later. So that's really a nice position to be in as well.
So, what's motivated you most on your journey to be where you are now and where you're going to go next?
Well, funny enough, I had this conversation with someone the other day about, where I am now. And it's
Mm.
strange, if someone had told me 12 years ago where I am now, then I would have thought I had succeeded everything I wanted.
Yes.
And now I haven't. I need to go and
To the
do
next level
something else.
because it's progressive. It's
It's
just always going.
constant.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
never.
always chasing something because actually, the more you learn along the way, you find other things that interest you. And I think as people, we all evolve. And definitely for me at the moment, working towards how I can help, for example, with the housing crisis and how I could apply things that I've learned, that's becoming more important to me.
Mm.
So, what motivates me is I have a brilliant group of staff who work at the office. They're based down in Penryn, and I love working with them. And I do love the buzz we get from the business as well. Like I said, no day's ever the same. It's always very busy. And it keeps you going. And I think I'm by nature a bit of a people pleaser as well. So there's nothing more
I
that
can
I
pick up on that.
love
I can pick up
than
on that.
knowing that you've made someone's holiday really special. You've taken away the problems for an owner. You know, you've done that thing. You've made someone's day.
Mm,
I do really enjoy
mm,
that.
yeah.
So I like being in that business.
They're very, very similar to me on that. It's like Jay, who's producing the podcast for us today, recently gone on holiday. I made sure I gave him a fiver to go away with, a bit of spending money to say, thank you, bit of gratitude for the amazing work, he does here above what he gets
Yeah.
paid for. It's just like it's nice to say thank you, right? And just look after people.
Definitely. And I think staff, if you don't have good staff in your business and you're not looking after them,
Mm.
especially when you've got growth there, you're going to have a really big problem.
Oh, absolutely.
So looking after the team around you and making sure that they're in a really good work environment, I do try to pride myself on that. I once had a job years and years ago where I hated going into work every day.
Yeah,
I'd
remember
wake
those
up in the
days?
morning and
Yeah.
I was miserable about going in. And as soon as I started running my own business, it was, I never, ever want a member of staff to feel that way when they come and work with me. I want to make sure they enjoy their job.
Yes.
And we do regular things together to make sure that I know they're happy and I know that they feel appreciated. I think that's a good rule to go by.
Absolutely. And I'm like that with Jay here and anyone that I work with within my team. I make sure because it's more than just money, right?
For sure.
So
Absolutely.
for me, it's wellness, it's time off, it's things like that. So we have a wonderful arrangement, a corporate arrangement with the Aqua Club in Newquay at the
Hmm.
Headland Hotel. Stunning facility. So Jay, for example, myself, we can go there whenever we want. If we're feeling, just book it in and go. And making sure that people are kind of valued
Yeah,
is one of my key things. To see, people achieve their personal goals. That's what
definitely.
drives me.
And I think if they feel valued as well, you just get so much more back as well in the
Absolutely.
business.
Mm.
You can see that they want to work with you and you're all working towards the same common goal.
Mm.
So it's worthwhile.
So, what about kind of what do you do when things aren't going your way? When you reach kind of objections with things in life, or something crops
Have
up, and you're like,
moments.
because it does
Yeah,
happen.
it does happen. It definitely does happen. Um, Definitely being in Cornwall, there's nothing more than going for a walk on the beach and going to go and have some quiet space. I think that's always really, really important. However, when I have problems, I do like to face them head on. I don't like to bury head in sand. Right, there's a problem. We need to approach it. So what are we going to do? And I think that's really important to talk about it and to try and come up with solutions as best as you can and to get as many people involved in that problem as you can. A problem shared is a problem halved. And I'm a great believer in that because I think together you can break it down, work on it chunk by chunk, and actually get a good result at the end of it. And I think all problems are there just to test us and test our resilience. And I think as long as you just go, right, they're actually here, so we've got to deal with them, it ends up being a lot better result doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, never shy away from a problem or a bad day. You normally get something good out of it at the end.
And to be fair, it's just the contrast of the good. You can't have the good without the bad, right?
No,
So that's the
not
other
at all.
thing.
And I think I had someone, on one of your podcasts say before, without the bad, you don't appreciate the good because
Exactly.
you can't compare it. So no, you know, it's part and parcel of life having the bad days and having the challenges. And I think people who are in business and who own businesses, who are self-employed, they also sometimes relish those challenges
Mm,
because they drive us.
mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, do you have any mentors in your life, whether that's people you watch online, people you know in real life? Is there anyone out there that's kind of
Well, I had a brilliant dad when I was growing up. He's no longer with us now, but I adored my dad, and he did have a very successful business down in Penryn. So I really loved his work ethic, and I'm a huge admirer of anyone, hardworking people, people who set up businesses. I understand actually the struggle of how hard it can be, and also how lonely it can be sometimes when
sure?
you're running a business. Um, so definitely, like my first ever mentor or inspiration, I think definitely came from my father. And
Nice.
then, Yeah, day to day now, it's just anyone who's in one of those really hardworking roles, but they're giving it 100% all the time.
Mm,
I definitely admire people who always do that and don't kind of quit at the first hurdle.
absolutely. What about kind of books? Are you a
I
reader
do.
at all?
Yes, I am a reader. Well, a reader, an audio listener. I like to listen to a lot of things in
Well,
my
so do I.
car.
Yeah.
I think audiobooks are quite a good, a very good invention actually.
Yes.
So I do quite a lot of reading. I read a lot about property. That's just one of my favorite things. So I've just finished reading actually a book by Rob Dix, and he writes all about the power of money and property and how things have been changing here. Only I have a very curious mind to how we've kind of ended up in such a financial situation in the UK. So that's currently what I'm trying to understand and get a grip on.
Yeah. I wonder a lot about that.
When you're just trying to put two and two together and understand it. And I think I've got, when it comes to my own financial affairs, I think I've got a pretty good understanding.
Mm.
But when I try to understand why the UK is in the situation
I
like
know,
it
right?
is, I don't understand it. And sometimes I don't understand the whole economics of it. So trying to educate myself a bit at the moment with that.
Yeah. I mean, that is a big rabbit hole as well. Just talking about I drive around and you think all the tax you pay on everything, and the roads, you see everything's going on. You think this, and this, and this. You start doing the quick numbers on the calculator. There's not enough numbers on the calculator to do it.
No,
And
not
you
at
think, where
all.
is this all going?
And you hear about the deficit that we're in, and you just can't quite understand where it's all there. And yet money can seem to be appeared out of thin air.
Exactly
Oh,
right.
we've decided to invest this much in that. And I'm like, but a minute ago you said we have
That's right.
nothing and
That's
now we
right.
have billions. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to educate myself about that
Yeah.
at the moment.
Well, good luck with that. Let me
Yeah,
know
I
how you
know.
get on, will
Well,
you?
yeah, talk to me again in a year. See how
I'll
it
get
goes.
you back on and find out. So what next for you then? Is it's the same, making it better, bigger, managing what
Um,
you got? What's the future look like for you? The next couple of years, for
Next
example.
couple of years, well, who knows? I mean, just around before COVID, actually, we set up the interior design side, which is going really well. And although it's under the Fixer umbrella, we call that Warren French Interiors, and that's going really well. And I've got to be honest, that's something that I suppose has a lot more personal enjoyment in it as well. I love making beautiful spaces and doing that with my friend Abby, and that is going well, and we're definitely getting more leads. But I do love working in holiday lets. I do really enjoy it. The next 2 years is going to be a big change with the statutory changes that are coming in. So I'm actually just going to embrace them and
Mm.
adapt to them. I think all business go through changes where they have to adapt. I think COVID showed us that,
Oh yeah. Really
how
has,
much had
yeah.
to change. But if you embrace change, you'll probably find you get really good results from it and on the other side. So I'm going in to do that and see where it all takes me, I think.
Well, I've got a
Is
great
that
idea for a lead generator for your interior
Yeah.
design business.
Oh, that's good to know.
Design us a set.
We can design you a set.
I think that'd be cool.
We can do that.
Um,
Stuff to match your shirts.
Yes, yeah, the shirt sort of thing. Yeah, I think it's one of those. See, the thing, I'll say it quite openly now on the podcast. This table's doing my head in because it was round. And look at it, it's bubbling up. It was a prop table for doing some stuff. So I need to sort a new table, make a nice new rug or something. I don't know. It needs an interiors touch, I
Needs a
think.
touch.
So we'll talk.
We
We'll
can
talk
do
about
that
that.
for you.
Look, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. I can talk to you for hours.
Likewise.
I get frustrated with this podcast in a way because I get talking to people and then I have to wrap it up. No, thank you very much for your time. Have you enjoyed the process?
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks very much for, for having me on and talking about it. It's a little bit different to other, businesses that have been on, but hopefully it's relevant.
Well, everyone's got a story. You've got a great story, and you're inspiring. And that's
Oh,
what it's all
thank you.
about. It's just taking those little nuggets from each person and trying to make each person's a better day for meeting people. Is there anything that you'd like to mention that I've not prompted you for in this kind of podcast that you'd like to get across? Anything you're passionate about? Anything you want to shout out?
All I'll say is to anyone who's running a business themselves or who's just starting up, it's really important to lead from the front and make sure that you know your businesses inside out. Do any job that you're hiring someone for, make sure you know how to do that job yourself.
Yes.
You've experienced, you understand it, because that's the way you're going to teach someone else to do it the way you want to, which is representative of your brand. And that's always been really important to me. I heard this great quote that my husband actually mentioned to me the other day. And it was, you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets. And that was actually by Arnold
Mm,
Schwarzenegger. Can you believe? I don't know if you've
mm.
watched his
No.
It's very good,
I mean, I've watched lots
actually.
of his stuff, but I've not heard
The
that.
the Netflix 3-part series is very, very good. But it really spoke to me because it's like sometimes we all want to do these things, but we're not willing to almost get our hands dirty. You have to. And I had
Sure.
to when I started up because I had to learn my trade. And I think if you're going into business, you must know your craft. You've got to research it. You've got to be confident. You've got to be organized with it. Because if you're not, there is someone else out there who is.
Absolutely.
So you've got to stay on top of your game all the time. And I think that's the one bit of advice I'd give to people who are starting out now, because I think everyone's getting into the self-employed market. You can see it. A lot more people are starting up things, which is brilliant.
Mm.
But just that would be my key bit of advice, which I do always try and do is just, yeah, be every part of your business if you can.
Great advice. What's the best way
Pleasure.
to contact you? What's your details?
You
Website?
can find me on LinkedIn with Katie Warren, but also fixermanagement.com. You'll see us there, and then you can find out any details about what we do. And again, if anyone wants to, just talk about things property, I'm always very interested.
Fantastic. Well,
All
once
right.
again, thank you so, so much. Well, there we go. Another episode of Morning Mojo. It just goes in a flash each time I do these podcasts. But as always, thank you so much to every single one who listens, who watches, gets in contact. It really is really starting to take shape from the vision of when I created it to get people. I was in Bristol yesterday and people said, "Oh, I'm loving your podcast," and that.
Mm.
And it's just amazing where they reach. So thank you so, so much. As always, thank you to Jay Kennett, who's produced this podcast for me today. Very grateful as always. But for myself and this wonderful lady, Katie Warren, we'll see you soon. And make sure you have the most amazing remainder of your day. Thank you very much.